Hello, it's me again. You've probably been wondering why I've been having this whip up here for the entire academy. Well, it's for this moment, the moment we've been waiting for. Several moments, actually. Welcome to the lightning talks of Academy. We have several presenters coming up next, each one with about 10 minutes. Yep, 10 minutes each. And yeah, very quick, brief lightning talks. We'll try and go through them very quickly. Our time together at Academy for Sunday is coming to an end. After this, we start winding things down, do the closing ceremonies, the sponsors, and so on. So the rules are very simple. If you go over time, I think that's very clear. So our first presenter. Yeah, our first presenter, Say What Now? Communication Theory for Software Developers by Nicolas. Go.
We need to talk. We need to talk about our Lord and Savior CMake. No, just kidding. We need to talk about the concept of talking. Because as people in KDE, people in a community, just humans living in a society, we communicate all the time. Sometimes that's face-to-face. Sometimes that's in text, email, chat. Sometimes it's non-verbally. But all of it is important for the jobs and for the things that we do in KDE. And as it turns out, these so-called soft skills can actually be pretty hard sometimes. So raise your hands if you had ever a formal course on theoretical computer science. That's about what I expected. Probably all of us that studied computer science at some point had a course on theoretical computer science. And for good reason, because it gives us some interesting insights into how computation works, and we can derive practical applications from that. How many of you have had a formal course on the theory of communication? That's a lot more than I expected. But it's also something that can give us very valuable insights into reality and give us a vocabulary to describe and talk about things. So, disclaimer here, I'm a computer scientist. I'm not an expert on communication, but here's the little bit that I have to present to you about communication. One way to look at communication is from an information theory point of view. That's mostly a mathematical view on transmitting bits and pieces of information. It was established mostly in the 40s by people like Claude Shannon and a bunch of others. And the key concept there is entropy. I'm not going to go into much detail there, but it gives interesting insights, like it explains why computers work with bits of 2, so zeros and 1, and not 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, for example. There's many practical applications there for things like efficiently communicating, compressing data, and so on. But it doesn't really focus on the social aspects of communication, so I'm not going to get into that today. There's, of course, cultural aspects of communication. Communication and communication styles vary between cultures a lot. One sort of axis how you can divide things is by direct versus indirect communication. Direct communication cultures, which you find, for example, in Germany, where we are and I am from, in the US, and generally most of Europe. People tend to just directly say what they think and want. And people are generally not afraid of, for example, admitting that they don't know something or telling people no. Versus in indirect communication cultures, which you mostly find, for example, in many Asian countries, people don't tend to do that as often, and instead things are communicated more indirectly. People wouldn't tell you no to your face and would give you some sort of workaround or excuse for it, and the other person is supposed to pick that up between the lines. Now, I want to stress that neither of those approaches is wrong. It's just that communicating across communication cultures can be very challenging if you're not used to communicating with the other side in that way. But the main thing I want to get into today is different models and theoretical models of communication. There's a bunch of them. There's, for example, the sender-receiver model, the iceberg model, the transaction analysis, the organon model, the 5 axioms of communication, and the 4 ears model. Each of them is different but equally valid. I can't get into all of them, so I just want to give you a peek into the 4 ears model of communication. It's called 4 ears or 4 sides model because there's 4 aspects of it. So you have 2 involved parties. You have a sender, you have a receiver. And when the sender and the receiver communicate, so when the sender says something, they are actually transmitting 4 different things. One of them is factual information. For example, if we look at something that might happen in a code review, if the reviewer says, this is a memory leak, they are conveying the factual information that this snippet of code leaks memory, and you forgot to free the allocated memory somehow. It also includes a component of self-revelation. In this case, not super interesting perhaps, but you're telling the other person, I know that I have identified a leak and I'm telling that to you. It says something about the relationship between the sender and the receiver. For example, if we take the statement of there's a leak here, I as the reviewer I'm conveying that I trust that you know what to do in this context. If I don't do that, I would maybe need to add some more context to the statement, like, please do this and this to clean up the memory. But if I don't that, I'm implicitly conveying that I trust you know what to do about it. And then there's the appeal component, where I, as the sender or the reviewer, want the other person to do something. And in that case, that could be something like, go fix the memory leak. Different example, if the reviewer in code review says, good job, thumbs up, the factual information is that the job was good. Self-revelation could be something like, I like how the code was written, how the patch was done. Relationship could mean something like, I like the way you are working, I would like to see more of that, which goes into the appeal. Appeal could be, keep doing this, more of that, and generally, good job, keep doing that. Now, the problem is, a lot of this is implicit and not spoken, and misunderstandings about any of these aspects and misinterpretation can lead to miscommunication. Which leads us to our conclusion. A lot of communication is implicit. The iceberg model basically says that just like an iceberg, where with an iceberg, most of the ice is underwater and you can't see it, most of the communication is implicit. And misinterpreting leads to miscommunication. So as a piece of advice I can give you, be mindful that this can happen and try to identify and recognize when it happens, and then you can work towards resolving that. And while doing that, be mindful and be aware that there are differences in how people communicate, both on a personal level and a cultural level, and use that to also help recognize and avoid miscommunication. Thanks.
Very good. You had 50 seconds remaining. Okay, so our next person coming up here is, this guy, David Edmundson. Who could be? With the art of a commit message, a good commit message, to be specific.
And being specific is part of a good commit message.
Yes. You have 10 minutes. Go.
You all suck at commit messages. I mean, not a good opening line, but your tone of your opening line sets how everything else is going to be. And your commit message sets a tone for your rest of your merge request. By the end of reading a description, I already know if some version of this patch is going to land or any version of this patch is going to be rejected forever. The commit message is more important than the code itself, or at least as important. And we do use the commit messages. Like 20 years later, you might still be looking at commit messages that people do now. So commit's got 3 parts: your subject, your body, and project-specific nonsense. So your subject should be short. So there's sometimes confusion of which way round to write something. Do you say fix to build for BSD or fix to build for BSD? And there's a rule that I copied from other people. And if you come up with a phrase, once merged, this commit will, and then the title of your subject, that's the way to do it. So once merged, this commit will fix a build for BSD. It's called an imperative mood, apparently, if you know grammar. I don't understand grammar, so going through this mechanism works for me. If I'm not sure, I use this mechanism. But that's not the important part. Bodies are obviously very important. So, explain why not. Commit messages and the titles are very important. So, we'll go for an example. Right, I've got this patch in Kdenlive. And you can all read what this patch is doing. Instead of returning a distance, it's returning an absolute version of the distance. Is this patch right? Maybe. Is this patch wrong? Maybe. I've got no idea. But to get to this patch, somebody probably spent 4 hours adding Qdebugs through hundreds of lines of code to get to this, right? They would have spent ages on this to work out what line I need to change. And I then have to go through all of their thought process again, doing the same debugs. So, but what happens is people submit a merge request that says, in short of value returned is always positive. I know that. It's absolutely terrible. And in this case, sorry, absolutely means it's still terrible, not it's a positive. So a good example, it would say a goal of Kdenlive is to show an effect of how far a mouse is from a hotspot corner on right to left language, the origin is swapped, but still guaranteed to be in a corner, right? Now, I would read this, and I might have some alternative ways of how I should approach this patch, but I know what mindset they were thinking and what questions to ask them, and I can do something productive with it, rather than just being, okay, brilliant, thanks for making it positive. So, a good template. If you're doing a fix, explain why that old code needs changing. Don't explain what your new code does. Your new code explains what your new code does. Explain why old code is wrong. Similarly, for a new feature, explain why it's beneficial to your project, not what it does. And if you ever find yourself removing code, try and explain why it was there to begin with, and therefore why it's obsolete. Other things to put in there, if there's known side effects, put them in, like new dependencies, or a behavioral change that might affect other people, or even if you think it won't affect other people, but you know it's a behavioral change, and you're just hoping it's not going to cause any issues, mention it, explain your assertions and why you think that way, and then other people know what things they should be checking. Telling other people what things they need to check is useful. KDE, we have to say there are some project-specific hooks. We say bug, colon, and then a number. This link has all of our special keywords. And please squash and rebase your commits, because if you don't squash and rebase your commits, what you're saying is, my time's more important than the reviewer's time. It's worth doing this to make people not hate you. And if you're not sure, use a GUI. I use a GUI for all my Git stuff, because you can't see a bit as cropped, but you see all of the changes you've made, and you can say, I want to put some of these in this commit, press a button, and then put the other ones in the next commit. And there's nothing wrong with using a GUI to do things, because GUIs are great. We spend all our days writing GUIs, but then people just type git commit -a, and it's rubbish. The end. Happy? Are you happy now?
You have 5 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. All right. We'll keep going through these, a little slower pace. At the end, we'll just have a longer break before the sponsors talk when the other room is wrapping up. So up next now, we have Bhushan with Plasma Mobile Power Management. And yes, the mic. As a note, the speakers, something screwy with them, but the stream is sounding fine, so sorry it sounds like that. Maybe listen online. Bhushan.
Hello. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Plasma Mobile Power Management, and it's one of the aspects that I worked on. And sorry, that seems to be some echo, or is it me? Okay. And so let's talk about like traditional power saving that you had so far on desktop or laptop. So on the desktop, it's a pretty simple. If you are not using it, you would just turn it off, or if you are, you might just turn off the screen. And since it was AC powered, you have the continuous stream of the power supply. It would work just fine. For the laptop, it's slightly different in that terms, like you have the occasional suspend, which lasts for a longer time, let's say 4 to 5 hours or something like that. And it's mostly used for overnight power saving, or if you are commuting, for example, like if you are going from your office to your home, you would turn off your laptop lid and you would just go back home and then open it again or something like that. On the laptop, you don't have any persistent connections, like persistent connections or something that keeps running, like you don't have the timed action to take, more on this later. And compared to mobile, you would still have a huge and bulky batteries. They were capable of storing more power. But for mobile, it's not that exactly how it works. So you have that time spent in the suspend is generally much shorter. Because like, let's say I'm saying it's a morning hours, but basically during your day-to-day life, it would spend about 50 to 20 minutes in the suspend, and it would wake up and do something. User may or may not be doing something with that. And every minute of the power saving is useful because batteries are small, and yeah, you want to save as much as power because you are going to, mobile is basically mobile. You don't want to carry around the power brick or AC power with you everywhere. And the important thing is, like, you will have the persistent internet as well as the telephony network connection in your phone. And this will require you to periodically wake up your device. So you might receive some call, or you might receive some notifications, and this will require the wake up, like you will require this device to wake up. And again, same thing, like the batteries are much smaller, like you will have this tiny batteries, and it will not store that much of power. In the kernel itself, there is lots of infrastructure for this, like H2 idle, runtime suspend, CPU idle. And the point is, like, we are not really making use of all of this infrastructure that is available in the kernel, in the Plasma. And some of my work was to make use of it. Over the last few months, I've been working on some stuff, and some of it is merged, some of it is not yet. So we fixed the alarm timer support on the Moose. So, like, essentially, if your device is asleep and if you have set the wake up alarm, it would actually wake up and ring an alarm. I also worked on patch to add support for identifying the wake-up sources. So, like, let's say if your device is resuming from the suspend, but then what exact component was responsible for that wake-up? There is an infrastructure in the kernel, so PowerDevil can essentially identify the wake-up source. So let's say if it is coming from the wireless and there is a notification, but that notification is not shown, needs to be shown to users, and you don't need to actually turn on the display, and you can just process it. This type of support was added to PowerDevil. And we also fixed our push notification distributor to not break after the suspend resume cycle, thanks to Volker. We also fixed the modem device waking up very randomly. Like if your device is in a suspend, it would wake it up like very, very fast enough, and you would basically not get all the benefits of the suspend. There was also some fixes about rotation sensors polling the rotation events even when your device was in the pocket. And if you are walking, it's actually quite a lot. Like if you are walking, your device keeps rotating. And yeah, we also added thanks to Florian, we also added support for proximity sensors. So like if your device is in the pocket, it would not turn on, like the display would not turn on, and you would not end up with the hot pocket situation. +1, so what is the next? So we want to add support for Wake on Wireless LAN and IPA. So it's a kernel mechanism for waking up for the push notifications and as such stuff. And if those two technologies are not supported, then we want to also do the periodical wake-ups. So like wake up every 15 minutes or 10 minutes and check for push notification and then go back to sleep. So this type of support, as well as the runtime support. So basically, if you are not making use of some peripherals, it should be suspended. Like there should be no power applied to those devices, and you can save quite a lot of power there. This was the work that we are planning next, or like I'm planning next, and special thanks to the NLNet Foundation, and this project was funded through NGI Zero Core Fund, and I think you must have already heard about this NLNet funding, so thanks to them. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Here, take this microphone. Thank you. You had 3 minutes remaining, so good job. Our next speaker then is going to be Jean-Baptiste with Funding and Growing, Kdenlive Experiences and Perspectives.
Yeah, thanks. So it's working? Yeah. So I'm Jean-Baptiste Mardelle. I'm the maintainer of Kdenlive, and this won't be a technical talk. The idea was to do a quick recap of the last three years of what happened in Kdenlive. So 3 years ago, we decided to start a fundraising. This was the first time that we tried to get some money for Kdenlive. And the goals for this fundraising was first to get a healthier life for the maintainer, so for me, and to break outside of our bubble and to make the development faster. So I'm really happy to say that both goals were reached during this fundraising. So I was able to work less in my other job and dedicate more time to Kdenlive. And we also were able to involve some external developers with the money to speed up the development. So this is very exciting result for this fundraising. So now I want to get a little bit in the details of what happened. So this is just a quick chart of the downloads that we have on the website, on the Flatpak. And you see that we now get almost 1 million downloads per release, which is really great. And it's steadily it's steadily growing, so we are really happy about that. And the usage stats, it shows that the Windows user base is growing. So it's now about 60% of our users are on Windows, and we are not even on the Windows Store. So I think that this is a step that we will take hopefully in the next months, or maybe a few months. So we probably have a large margin to increase our Windows user base. And now, so regarding the fundraising status, so we were able to collect a lot of money in the first times, but we see that we also now spend the money, so we don't have that much left, but yeah, as I was told, money is done to be spent, so things are going well. The funds were used mostly to fund my work, but you can see also that 20% of the money was used for other developers. So this was the way that we were able to implement new features like Open Timeline I/O. We found someone from the community who was able to implement this to allow exchanging the project files with other proprietary apps and refactoring of the audio waveform. So this was a very positive experience. It was the first time that we hired, well, it's not a contract, but we interviewed people. We found very nice people in the, very nice people that helped us to work on this feature, and it was a very positive experience from our point of view, because I was in the first place very reluctant to involve money in the project, but yeah, in the end everything was very nice, very fine, so it's very positive. And then, yes, we're trying to improve because the project is growing, our user base is growing, and we have to manage all this. So we try to go also talk with other actors, and it was really interesting. For example, we had a call with a laptop manufacturer, and to help advertise Kdenlive, and they said, "Oh yeah, sure, we can display your promo video during our events." And then we realized we don't even have a promo video. So, yeah, Kdenlive Kdenlive is almost 20 years old. It's a video editor, and we didn't really have a promo video until, so when we realized this, we quickly made it. But yeah, it's sometimes things, so some very obvious things. It's nice to talk to people outside to realize stuff. So we have to work on, we also want to talk to the Blender Foundation to get advice on how to manage things. So it gives us some good tips on how to work on our branding and our weakness. So to expand our user base, as I told, we have the possibility to get on the Windows App Store. We also want to explore the possibility to get in touch with art schools. Some of them were interested to try Kdenlive. So this is also, I think, a very great opportunity that could that could help us get more known. And yeah, I showed before the fund charts, and I am also very happy that we were able to have a grant from NLNet NGI 0 European funds to help the development of Kdenlive. So that's also a very, very nice achievement. And we will probably launch a new fundraising campaign soon. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks.
Very good. You had 3 minutes remaining. Okay, so that was, unfortunately, I have to put this down. That was our lightning talks for today for Academy. Coming up next, we've got quite a bit of a break, about 15, 16 minutes or so, until these sponsors talks starting at 6 p.m. And then after that, the awards and closing. So if you want, you can catch the last 5 minutes of Next Door, Bridging the Gap Artists in Wayland with Joshua Goins. Otherwise, we can vibe for 15 minutes and see you in a bit.